Hello everybody, welcome to the next instalment of Dean's Beer Reviews. Now we're doing quite a special beer today. It's one of my favourite beers ever. It's quite a special beer, like I say, so I've made the effort and I've had a shave and I'm looking all, you know, like I'm worth doing this beer review. Belgian one today. I'm not entirely sure whereabouts in Belgium it is, I can't remember. Is it Flanders? Quite possibly. But it's from the Rodenbach brewery. Now the Rodenbach brewery is a very special brewery. There's none really like it in the world. You walk through. I've never been, but I'd really love to go. It's just you walk through halls of just these massive oak tuns and of aging beer, and apparently it's quite somewhere. Apparently, it's like a national treasure of Belgium is how it's regarded. And we're doing their Grand Cru, Rodenbach Grand Cru. It's a fantastic beer. It's like no other beer you've ever tasted. If you haven't got some, I don't mean to sound up my own backside here, but if you haven't got some sort of sophistication of palate when it comes to beer, the chances are you take one smell of this and one sip and you'll think, ugh, because it doesn't taste like a beer per se. Although I do know one or two people who I've, one that sticks out of my mind. I gave her a bottle of this and she loved it straight away. So you know, it's because it's not a horrible beer. It's just not what you'd be expecting if you're not into beer. It's what they call a mixed fermentation beer, and it's 1/3 young beer and 2/3 matured beer, and that beer has been matured for 2 years at least in oak fats. So the oak imparts like a sweet, sour sort of taste to it. It says, in fact, it says those words actually on the back of the bottle: sweet, sour, like a sour, and you know, it really smells like a fine wine almost. It's got quite a winey palate to it as well. It's a strange sort of beer, and it's a Flemish red-brown ale. They call it, or brown-red, whichever way around. Purely because of the colour. It's quite dark. It's got like a ruby hue to it. Yeah, it's a fantastic beer, Rodenbach Grand Cru, and we're gonna just crack straight into this. It recommends serving at about 6 degrees. I would, yeah. Oh, this is probably a couple of degrees over that now. It's been out of the fridge a while, but that's okay. We don't want it too cold. And the ABV on this is a nice around 6%, so it's a nice drinking strength. It's not strong, and it's not too weak. So yeah, let's pour this out. I'm just gonna. It's not bottle conditioned, so I'm just gonna pour a little bit in to get a nose and things first, and then I'll top it up afterwards before we have a taste. Now, you can see, I don't know if you can see actually, hold it up to the light, it's got ruddy hues around the edge and it's slightly murky brown. And it's got an off-white head, which isn't very big. I don't know if you can see that alright. You see the colour of it? You can see a cloudiness to it, sort of. Yeah, not much lacing, not a massive head like I say. But yeah, to look at it, it's a cloudy, murky, ruddy brown, which is good. Does what it says on the tin. Smell wise, now I haven't had one of these for a while, but I'm going to get a hell of a nose on this, I can tell you. It's a fruity, soury, and if you, like when I had this for the very first time, the first thing I could smell, and to a point taste, but definitely the first thing I smell was vinegar. Okay, it smells quite vinegary, I'll tell you that. It's very acidic, that's the oak, makes it acidic. And it gives it a very dry tartness. There's a certain sweetness when you're drinking it in the mouth, but you do get a real tartness. And it smells quite winey, to be fair. Yeah, it doesn't smell like a beer. Like I say, not your typical malty, hoppy smell. There's no hops there whatsoever. I mean, I'm sure there's probably hops in it somewhere because it's a beer, but you cannot detect them in the smell, or even the taste. As somebody who's not that used to beer, what would you say when you smell that? Have a...
Vinegar.
Yeah. Vinegar.
Yeah, straight away, vinegar.
Vinegar. It's like a sour... It's just basically an acidic smell.
Sour, yeah.
But you do get a lot of oaky fruitiness. It's an individual smell. You'd really have to... Now Rodenbach do just a beer purely called Rodenbach, which is... whereas this is 1/3 young and 2/3 old. I think that's 2/3 young and 1/3 old. So it's not as sour, but I've never tried that. This is their Grand Cru, like I say. This is the slightly stronger, more matured version. But let's just get this poured right out. So I'll get a bit of a head, but it won't last very long, I don't think. Oh, will it? Yeah. It doesn't lace, but there you go, it's nice orangey, peachy coloured head almost. Actually, that looks browner than I remember it looking. I remember it looking redder than that before. But yeah, some of that bouquet's gone now because I've got the head in the way. But yeah, Rodenbach Grand Cru. Cheers. Oh Lord, that's good. I did. My mum took me to a pub in York that serves this. You should have seen her face when she tried it. Like I say, acidic straight away, but sweetness. It is balanced off with sweetness, but it's definitely more acidic. Like when you've had like a tangerine or a satsuma or something, and it's not quite ripe enough, and it's like. This is very, very good with food. It's a very, very food-friendly beer. This, because the acidic, the dryness and the acidity and the sourness makes any drink, particularly beer, really, really quenching. So it's a very, very thirst-quenching beer, very refreshing, and it goes well with food because of that acidity. Although I've never had it with food, I should really follow my own advice, but yeah, that acidity, it goes really well with food. It's a nice drink. And obviously eating food with it. Oh, I'll tell a lie. Well, I did. I had a big plate of greasy chips when I had one of these at that pub with my mum, and it just cut straight through that. So it's fantastic with food. You do that like a winey, grapey, vine fruit sort of taste. But it's quite soft, the actual taste, but the acidity is there. It just brings it straight back. Not a very astringent finish. You would think it is. I think the more you drink it is, but it doesn't really dry your mouth out. It just coats it, and it just makes you think, what the hell? Winey and fruity, and sour. Sour red ale. How are we doing for time? Because I've just gibbered like hell there.
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes left, that's okay. There's not a lot to be said about it really, apart from, well there's loads to be said. I haven't got really got time to say it all. But it's hard to describe. It's an this is where my inexperience in the beer field compared to a lot of people shows. Cherry sweetness, cherry tartness, but it doesn't actually taste of cherries. It's that sort of, if you eat a cherry, you can taste that it's sweet and it's tart at the same time. It's that sort of effect, although it doesn't taste anything like cherries. Like I say, it's a very winey, grapey sort of taste. There is a bit of that old funk to it. It does taste like it's old, like it's been soured. You know, like it's, and I suppose that's a bit of an oaky taste to it as well. But it's in a league of its own, this. Rodenbach Grand, I can't even speak. Rodenbach Grand Cru. It's one of my favourite beers. Oh man, what can I say? It's a fantastic beer. The way it's been ripened for those 2 years in the oak vats, it just does something magic to it. It really does. It just turns it into almost like a wine. Don't expect it to taste like a beer because it doesn't. You get a slight. No, I can't even taste. It doesn't even taste like a beer. Solid. It doesn't. Sweet, sour, slightly vinegary on the nose, but very, very quenching and very refreshing. With a slight, like I say, soft, grapey, fruity overtones to it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut this one short because I'm gonna run out of time. I shall go and marvel at this. Rodenbach Grand Cru, try it. Cheers.